Welcome, everyone, to the world of Elkine, a world born of the primal and innate aspects of ash, dust, and ice. When the world was met with the aspect of storm, a new era emerged, wrought with conflict, bloodshed, and finally peace as the mortal races took their stand on the newly birthed planet. But perhaps speaking of the creation of the world is starting too far in the past for our story, and telling you the tale of how a group of unlikely adventurers stood over the world with acts of heroism or villainy in their wake is getting too far ahead of ourselves as well. Instead, we start during the year of 316, post Divine Rift. However, our tale doesn't start on the mortal plains of Elkine, in a tavern with merriment and jovial music playing. No, our story begins in the lands betwixt, a space between what most would consider life and death. A peculiar group of wayward souls find themselves met with an untimely death and now stand before a human sized but abnormally imposing figure of a man in a long black robe. The group of souls burns bright, in a large chamber with a single central dais on which the figure now stands. Each soul begins to apparate a body of what once was, as judgment is meant to be passed. The first soul to apparate burns a bright white, despite the tiny fractures that appear within. Taryn, if you would like to go ahead and describe your character and the body that apparates around the soul.
Okay. Ildrak. Ildrak is he's a tall, broad-chested dragonborn with brilliant white skin. The scales nearing edges of his body are almost translucent in their crystalline quality. His two large horns take on a darker hue as they extend backwards from his snout about a foot each. His eyes shine a bright cobalt color and his smile is genuine. Moving from his head, he wears a heavy plate armor, interlocking steel plates that do essential blue cuirass. The armor has many brown leather straps for equipment and a couple small encrusted aquamarine gems in the front plenty. Across his back is a large iron-trimmed tower shield, made out of some kind of dark-treated wood. Sticking out behind it is the handle to a large, well-polished longsword, which appears to have draconic runes on the base of the blade. A couple nets are slung across his belt, as well as a hooded lantern of gnomish make, emitting a bright, warm light from what seems like a wisp of a white flame inside. Peeking out of his backpack are some bottles holding salves and bandages that must comprise a healer's kit from close observation.
The next soul also shimmers brightly, though it too has seen some battering. Desert, if you could describe your character, please.
Before you is a middle-aged, on the younger side, human man with brown eyes, brown hair, and some mighty fine facial hair. He's wearing some very well-made clothing that looks like it would have cost quite a few gold pieces when it was new, but now his age has begun to show, as some threads have lost their color and some seams look barely held together. Over the fine clothes, he wears a full chainmail armor piece, even more weathered, but it looks well maintained and it probably has quite the story.
Besides them, apparates a body from a soul which appears to be little more than sparks, a new soul, if you will. Long, if you would go ahead and describe your character, please.
Handful unit online. Proposing query request. Okay. Hi everybody, I'm Handful. I am very bulky, pretty tall, and my main thing is my head goes all the way down to like this battering ram construction that can ram into things if I wanted to. And
You can also see a small miniature
Oh, wait.
robotic thing floating around side of this
Yeah.
new person.
So that's my full body, and I can like go down and charge and like boom, like zoom right at the enemy.
Additionally, there is a soul that is just as bright as the others, but much smaller than the rest. A soul that still needs experience of the world. Ada, if you could please describe your character.
Is a young girl, quite small, very short, with unruly brown hair. It looks as if they have this. They looks as if they have a new outfit that was freshly made, like nice pair of pants, shirts, and some overalls. And they are lacking shoes. They've lost their shoes.
Oh no.
Where
Oh
did they
no!
go? No one knows. That's
Adorable.
basically
Very
it.
much. Another soul appears, similarly bright, though it seems to be pulling somewhere else and has a hard time staying in one spot. Ellie, if you could please describe your character.
The young girl you see before you might be short in stature for a half elf, but she is not one to be messed with. Her face, though partially obscured by a covering, you can see that her eyes are blue. She has shoulder-length brown hair, which is tied up in a ponytail out of her face. Her hair's brown, blah, 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 blah. She hasn't had a haircut in a while. She's not had the time. Her skin is pale. You can tell she doesn't like being out in the sun all that much. Moving to her attire, she has on this bulky black scarf that seems to be part of her cloak that just hovers above her knees. She's wearing a two-colored button shirt with the sleeves rolled up just below her elbows. She has on a black pair of nice, comfy trousers that fit on her, a pair of one leather boots with silvery buckles and dark laces. You can see a leather belt that is settled around her hips that holds her sheathed dagger. It looks to be well maintained. Her gloved hand sort of hovers around it. That she's a bit curious as to why she's here.
Very nice. And finally, a soul appears that burns bright, with small elements of black and golden flames dancing within it. Aaron, if you could please describe your character for us.
Good day to you, good sirs. My name is Dorno Sindo. Before you would see a regular height. I'm quite proud of that. A regular height tiefling with red skin and black horns, adorned in a beautiful, gracious-looking set of armor. It is gleaming with gold and silver tones, and it even has a cape full of fucking silver. Isn't that glorious?
Thank you very much.
I'm a young adult. My father doesn't like me very much. And that's me. Let's go.
You guys can see this central figure kind of cloaked. There is a hood to the cloak, but the hood is currently down. It's a sort of like friendly face, about middle-aged man. He has like this dirty blonde hair about him, and he has like this weak, inviting smile as you all appear. Ah, some new souls. Welcome to the land betwixt. I'm sure you have many questions, but it appears that you have moved on to the afterlife, and you are here to face judgment. Please step forward.
I have no questions. Send me back.
He looks at you with almost like the look turns sort of sad, and he's like, "I wish I could, my friend, but when it's your time, it's your time."
My
And
work is not finished. Send me back.
he scowls a bit, and he takes out what appears to be like a pocket watch from like one of the pockets in the cloak. He's like, "I've heard that story time and time again, but I can assure you this watch never lies." And he like points it in front of him and looks at you, then looks back down at the watch and has a very confused look on his face. Well, that's never happened before. Salvia, you have a very good look of this because you're close up, and from the side you can kind of see like the glint of glass, like light is hitting off the glass of this pocket watch. But Salvia, you can clearly see the like glass to the pocket watch is shattered as he's looking at Ildrak, and he continues looking at the pocket watch, and he's like, no, that can't be right. And then he turns to you, Velt, and the same confused look crosses his face. He motions the stopwatch to each one of you. He goes, No.
What can't be right? Who are you? What are we doing here?
I suppose I should explain a little. My name is Dernalan. I am the god of death. I help usher souls to the other side, to the afterlife. And you are newly brought souls before me, so I thought it would be my job to bring you. But this watch, and he holds it up a little bit higher, it should tell me when it's a soul's time to go. But none of you are meant to be dead. You're not meant to be here.
King knew it.
Can you send us back, or what's going on here?
I don't know.
This is a waste of our time.
Trust me, I am sure you have plenty of questions and are very, angry. I am just as confused as you are. In my several hundred years of doing this as the god of death, this is not something I have ever experienced.
Southfield raises her hand.
Yes, go on,
Oh,
child.
Uncle, whenever something of mine breaks, my dad fixes it. You can ask him if you're sad
I
about your watch.
Oh my
I'm
god.
sorry about your watch, Uncle. I didn't break it, did I? I wasn't paying attention.
No. He gives you a different confused look as if doesn't understand how to deal with a child. I I don't, as much as I trust your father as a good man and a good repairsman, I don't believe you could fix something of this caliber. This is not of mortal make, so to speak. Yeah, I suppose I could send you back. And you can see that kind of to his side, he now brings in front of him a long black longsword, and it's polished to the point that it looks almost like it's completely onyx. Um, and there's a small banner wrapped around the top of it that's kind of shifting in a wind that doesn't appear to actually be present. He holds out the sword in front of him, passing it between each of you, and goes, I I don't get this. Why are you all here? Look at something real quick.
Excuse me, I have a question.
Yes, go
How
on.
much gold do you want for the sword?
I was
afraid-
kind of wondering that
This
too.
will kind of cost my mantle.
I'm
Uh,
afraid that
Seems
this,
like a fine weapon, you know.
this does not have a price on it. It is not. Even if I
Ooh.
could give you the sword, I highly doubt that you would be able to withstand the weight of a godly weapon such as this.
What do you think
I
about my
don't
weight?
doubt that.
You bastard! I'm very strong.
It's not that. I believe your soul would actually crumble and crack. Not anything about your physical attributes that you couldn't hold the sword. Just your body would reject wielding it.
Is he holding out the sword, like, to chop at us?
No. It is pointed down to the ground. He's more so holding it by the handle and is looking at the banner as if thinking that the banner will give him some kind of answer that he's not otherwise seeing. And again, that banner is flapping in the wind. With an air that doesn't seem to be present. Tiff, you see this first. Over his shoulder, you can see a large bat-like creature apparate kind of basically out of the air. There's a small tear in the space that this bat comes out of, comes flying over his shoulder, grabs the banner off the hilt, flies away, and through the same rip disappears. And then Tiff, and this time Velt, you can now see apparating around the space similar tears in reality as smaller bats start appearing.
Hey, Mr. God of Death, is this normal? Is this should this be happening?
It's not, and he pulls up the sword as if ready to fight. And he's glaring at the space where the large bat was that just stole his banner from him and flew away with it.
I'm going to see all of these bats that are apparating around us, and I'm going to whip around and draw my longsword just right off my back, and so it comes out just shining, like not off-putting light, but it is very well polished. Iljarok snorts, and a bit of a smoke comes out of his nostrils, and he is going to book it as far as he can get. Can I take a guess as to whether these bats have intelligence?
You get the sense that they are not of human level intelligence. They are still bestial in nature, but can follow commands.
So they would be able to understand a language.
Yes.
Okay. I am going to go ahead and pull out my shield and whack my sword against my shield several times. And I'm going to do nothing but that. Just whack it, create a massive amount of noise as much as I can, and stand in the middle of this bridge.
Salvia, you see a bunch of these bats flying around menacingly.
I'm gonna snake shot the one. I think that's the closest one to me, probably. No, wait, this one is probably. Okay, so I can move a little bit closer first and then use it.
You take a rock from the slingshot and you basically bounce it off this creature's. It hits like where the wing connects to the body, but because the wings are constantly moving, it like buffers or buffets the stone a little bit. So it is still standing.
Okay, I'm gonna kind of go over here and try and kind of hide behind the pillar.
You believe you remain pretty hidden. As you're like kind of pressing up to this pillar that like keeps this bridge in place. They start flying in this direction, start coming towards U-turn as you're making this like annoying sound to them, but you're also the closest one for them to hit. They can't reach you quite. You're just out of their range. This guy is going to come up to you, Dornu. This guy is going to come up to you, Anvil. This one is going to bother Tiff, and then this one is going to bother Journalan. So the one that's against you, Dornu, is going to take 2 claw attacks. The one against Anvil, it's going to take a claw attack against you.
Ildrak would like to smirk a little bit, and he's going to snort again, and just these, but instead of thin wisps of smoke, they're going to start be thicker and thicker, and then he'll open his mouth and breathe out a blinding white cone of fire.
Okay, you see them all like start burning from these flames, and it's like this bright white blinding light of fire, and they kind of have to like look away because it's just that bright and intense as these like tongues of white flame now kind of like spark off their body.
Ildrak would like to take another step forward, and the one in the middle that he hit harder than the rest, he is just gonna go ahead and smack him with his shield straight up into the kisser.
You hit this bat and you like disorientate it as it's now burning and now slightly dazed by your shield bashing it in its nose, basically.
I would like to roar loudly again.
You roar loudly, and the one that wasn't paying attention, like wasn't affected by your flames, is now like dead-eyeing you, basically. Darnaland's gonna turn to the one that's like attacking him. You can see he takes this like onyx blade and like strikes right through this bat. Goes to like strike through its wings, and the bat just manages to like duck underneath the blade a little bit as it like the edges of its wings get clipped, but it doesn't just completely de-wing it.
I'm just gonna go up to this guy here. I'm gonna attack with it. Attack with my my greatsword.
This bat is looking very hurt, barely able to still fly at all.
So this ugly bat, this fella, attacked me. I'm not happy about that. So I'm gonna draw my dagger and I'm just gonna go for it.
You basically place this this dagger almost into its face until it like flaps around and you catch it like right in like the chest stomach area, I guess would be the best way to explain it, like the abdomen. I just sink this dagger into it.
I also want to get some space. So I'm gonna disengage and jump back. I'm just gonna stay there and see what happens next.
Threat detected. Charging up. Main anvil. Yeah. Boop, boop, boop. So, the bat that attacked me, I'm going to give it to my charge, and then slam right against this bat.
It gets plowed into by you like charging up against it, and you smack into it, and it like has to regain its balance in the air, and it takes it a moment.
I'm going to turn to the bat and say,
Okay.
"You fucking cut me, you cunt!" And I'm going to pull my halberd out and strike this foul beast as hard as I fucking can.
Unfortunately, it just goes wide and it skitters across the ground, and you're starting to have these memories of like, what if I can't actually do this? What if I can't attack it? What if it like just dodges? And this bat just seems unfazed as it's still just flapping in front of you.
Father never did teach me how to fight. I'm gonna run away.
All right. This thing is going to take an attack on you, though, as you run. One of its claws just rake you across your back as you're running. Salvia, you're pushed up against this pillar, hidden from the world.
They're going to aim for this one. So they are aiming, and right before they do the attack, they're very proud of the new lord they were just heard. They say, "Take this, cunt."
Oh no!
It kind of just looks over at the child and goes like, "Huh? What?"
Oh no! Well,
So sorry.
yeah.
Holy shit.
Okay, you like basically hit the stone right square in the like forehead of this bat. It is looking very rough and also has a hard time still flying. This bat looks at you very concerned that you just cursed at its buddy.
I'm going to look over at him, and I'm going to do 2 thumbs up in the air because I'm proud of myself.
Two thumbs up in the air. Sure. This one is going to go up to Velt, and these two are basically going to take a round of attacks on you, Velt. The one beside Anvil is going to attack.
We'll be fine.
This one
Yeah.
comes up to Salvia.
Oh no!
This one is going to fly up to Tiff, and then these two are just going to surround Ildrak. And then the last one is actually going to fly up to Darnalan and try to take some attacks on him.
Ildrak is having absolutely none of anyone getting past him and is going to turn around and take a slash at the fella who's threatening the child.
Unfortunately, that'll not hit. It's not paying attention to you, but it's flapping kind of inconsistently now that it's like run down and its wings are kind of giving out, that your slash just goes wide.
I'm not giving up. Shield bash, same target.
Unfortunately,
Oh, no.
still, it's just erratic, flapping, and you can't pin it down.
He's snorts out smoke again.
Adrenaline plunges his sword straight into the ground, and you can see this like black smoke start rising up around him, and it like quickly attaches to these 3 bats. Basically, you can see all 3 of these bats like get consumed by this black smoke, and as the black smoke dispersed, like there is nothing left but just bones and dust.
Well, now that I have to walk to fight my enemies, I guess I'll go over to here, and I will stab at it with my greatsword.
You take your greatsword, and this time you are able to just basically repeating what Durnalin was trying to do earlier, like de-wing this bat and cut it straight to the ground.
I will go ahead and action surge,
Okay.
and I will walk on over to this bat, and I will slash down at it with my greatsword
Okay.
as well.
Unfortunately, it does
Oh,
not hit as
damn.
this bat kind of sees you coming and just gets right out of the way. Tiff, you're a little concerned that this greatsword is actually going to hit you, but there's just enough distance between you and Velt that it doesn't hit.
Not
Tiff-
happy about that. All right, I'm gonna use sneak attack, and I'm
Yes.
going to try and de-wing it.
You're specifically like aiming for the wings, but the wings are now just like flapping in a weird pattern as it's like kind of looking over its shoulder but still pointed towards you, so it's just hard to get strike against this bat.
Can you put me on your shoulders? Maybe I can reach it.
I mean, you could try, I guess. I don't know if that'll work, but
I'm gonna hide.
You think that you're pretty hidden.
I'm gonna go over here and
Okay.
support Salvia and Ildrak, and I'm going to try to shoot a blast at this guy.
Okay.
Okay.
You hit this thing, and with this like magical pulsing beam that basically comes out of your eye, like your central strip eye, and you like buffet this thing, and it's now reeling back. It is looking pretty hurt.
I'll have the attack.
You see Zippy kind of give out these like ultrasonic waves, basically from the little antenna on the top of the head, but the bat manages to like fly around them.
Aw.
Well, goodness, chaps, it seems I'm quite injured.
Yeah, well, we all are.
But fear not, I'm on my way, small one. I'm gonna start like running over towards Salvia.
So you have this bat in
Salvia
front of you.
is going to aim for like the middle part, like the body part. It is going to do an unarmed attack, like kicking it, like doing a jump and then kick.
You hit it in its abdomen, and it like exhales all of its breath, and it just like is knocked off balance, that its wings aren't able to keep it up anymore, and it just kind of flops to the ground.
Ildrak lets out a visible sigh of relief.
I'm going to do an unarmed strike.
Again.
this guy then.
Okay, so you move over. That is enough to bring it down. It's not paying attention, and you basically ball up your fist like into two, like putting one fist in the other, and just bring both fists over your head and then down on like the middle of this creature's back. And it flumps to the ground. I guess this one is going to turn to you, Ildrak, and take 2 claw attacks against you. And then the other one is going to take an attack, 2 claw attacks against Velt.
Ildrak, he's got a little bit of panic in his eyes again when Salvia went in front of him. Can he push the bat corpse out of the way and move into the occupied space?
Yeah, easy enough for you to do.
All right, and then he's going to put himself as much as he can, realistically, in between the space between the bat and Salvia, and then make another couple of attacks on this bad fella.
You slash through this bat and you cut it like along the abdomen. It is still flying, but it looks very, very hurt.
Shield dash.
Unfortunately, not
That's why I
enough.
mess with a winning combo.
It like reels back basically from your attack with its sword, and you think you're able to hit it, but it reels back just enough that your the force of your blow just misses it.
Like he is as realistically as possible, just putting himself so far in front of Salvia, just as much as he possibly can.
Okay.
And he's going to snort in anger again, have some smoky smoke.
Dernalin's going to step down off the dais and come to you guys, and he's going to make an attack. You can see that this bat is uninjured. It hasn't been touched so far. Dernalin just takes his sword and spears it to the ground and twists with his blade,
Oh my.
killing it.
All right, I'm gonna seeing that. Velt's gonna move over here. Then I'm gonna take my great sword for one last time. I'm gonna stab it through
Go for it.
the center of mass. I take my as I go in, I stab it through its body. I sort of like it sort of goes limp on my sword, and I just twist my sword like really fast, just for the extra measure, just to make sure it's dead. And
Very nice.
Yeah.
It falls to the ground with your sword still plunged into it, and you like take your sword out, and you hear this like sound as like the blood and gore of this thing like slops off your sword. You can see Dernalin kind of like shakes off a bit, and he's like, "Oh, well, that was another unexpected event. I'm not sure what's going on." And you can see another soul start to appear. You can see what appears to be a Goliath man, a like stone giant of sorts, kind of appear in this space and look between all of you. Where you guys saw the souls before, this soul is not as bright as all of the others. It is black and looks heavy, and even looking at it gives you a massive headache that you have to like turn away from. Dernalin looks over at this newcomer and just is confused, frustrated, it seems, doesn't understand what's going on. Agrid, I didn't think I would see you soon. What's going on? Agrid just shrugs and goes, I don't know. I went to go see my brother and I ended up here. This is disconcerting to say the least. And Dernalin looks to the hilt of his sword where the banner was, and then back to the space where the larger Hellbat disappeared from. I hate to put such a burden on you, since this is clearly a god's task, but can I ask you all a favor?
Hmm.
Huh?
I need that banner back. Unfortunately, that is what helps me judge the souls and bring them to the afterlife. But without it, I can't do my job properly, and I would go do it myself, but if more souls show up, well, I don't know where to leave them or what to do with
Uh,
them, so I must remain here.
do you judge all souls that die?
I'll be honest. And he pulls out his pocket watch again and brings it around to each of you, and you can see that besides looking at Agrid on his right, that the watch is still clearly broken for all of you. If you guys can return this banner to me, I am personally sending you back to the mortal plane. You are the first souls I have met who are not meant to be here, who are not meant to be dead. I need you to figure out what's going on. And I trust that you will be able to do this for me. I will ensure whatever passage I can, whatever powers I can. Please help.
Uh,
Something isn't right in the order of things.
I'll help you.
We will get it back for you.
Well, hold on. Can I ask for one other thing? Can
Within
I
Who asked
reason,
for his sword?
can I have your sword if we?
he glares at you for a moment
Hey,
and
this is not
says,
an easy task, clearly, because you're not doing it yourself. So, you need us, and you know, I don't have much incentive to go back to the land of the living. So maybe, straighten the pot a little.
he's glaring down at you.
I'm gonna make a really convincing argument for why he should give him his sword.
He looks between all of you and he raises his sword and he looks like he's about to strike you down basically, but slams his sword onto the ground and breaks the tip off of it
What
and
the fuck?
holds up a piece of like this obsidian onyx metal, whatever it looks like, and he hands it out to you. It's not quite a sword, but if this is what will make
Yoink.
you help me, then perhaps it'll be enough to at least make a dagger.
Okay, what is it?
It's you'll figure it out.
Can I
Seems
take a
like
look at it with my smithing expertise? There we go.
you are confident you can
Oh.
make enough, like there's enough material here for you to make a dagger or maybe a short sword. You're not entirely sure of all the properties of this material, but it is a metal that can easily be molded.
I can take a look at that.
Okay.
It's not enough metal for long sword, but maybe dagger or short sword.
Tiff's eyes glisten just a little bit. She's like, ooh, dagger? Really?
Dagger.
Okay, it'll work.
He kind of points you to the opposite direction of the bridge. I will allow you to stay here for as long as you need to rest up. If that fight was not kind to you, I'm sure. But when you're free, head
Guys,
that way, to the left.
guys, I believe I can fly.
No!
Does he
You-
become a god?
You jump and you float there for a moment before you feel a black mist wrap around your like bottom half, and you look down and there's a black mist emanating from Journalin as he like starts pulling you back to the island. I would not recommend that unless you have no intentions of returning back to the land of the living.
Do you have a place I can
I guess you
charge?
can fly.
He looks over to the Goliath who's now standing next to you guys. We can probably figure something out.
Mr. Automaton robot thing, I have a question for you. How does a
We're
robot
requested.
die?
I honestly have no damn clue either.
Journaling?
Journalin is kind of like stroking his chin. He's like, it is interesting, but whatever has a soul comes here, so congrats, Automaton. I suppose you have a soul.
I looked surprised at the god, and I was like, I do have a soul.
Apparently, otherwise you wouldn't be standing before me.
I have like an anime blush.
How tall is the Goliath?
About 7.5 feet tall.
Okay,
So
okay,
he
I
like
wanna ask you a
towers over
question.
you. Go for it.
Okay, so Salvia is like next to him as he raises her arms up and she's like, Uncle, lift me. I wanna be tall. Lift me.
He looks down to you and looks back to Dernaland and is just like, "You seriously brought a child here?" And Dernaland's like, "Please, it has been a long day."
So for
Uh,
the first time, really, this entire time, Velt finally recognizes Salvia. He's like, Salvia, what are you doing here?
It's the Oh my god, it's the dumb human. I mean, hi.
I make like a robot.
I think you're getting me confused with someone else.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, no, I remember you when you were quite a little younger. What was it, 2 years ago? Like, how long was it actually?
it was 4 years.
4 years
That's
ago.
what we figured out.
Salvia holds up a hand and as he puts 4 fingers underneath as he goes, "Yeah, I'm 9 years old now. It's great."
Weren't you 7?
No, I was 5. Anyway,
Okay.
about that lift.
He looks confused and he's like, "Yeah, okay, sure. I've
Yay!
children are strange creatures, but sure, whatever." And he like picks you up and puts you on his shoulders.
Ildrak's watching this guy like a hawk.
Says Tiff.
He just kind of like walks in small circles around the like dais area, hoisting you up. You can now see over the sides. This is like a river, but as you look into it, like the waters are shifting colors between like blues, light blues, like dense whites. And Journaling calls out, be careful with that. Souls that are not cooperative end up there."
What down there?
Salvia real quick. Is like, "Man, I can't wait to tell my parents about this."
Right. Well,
Oh, boy.
he turns to you, Anvil. The souls of the damned, they did not, were not the best in life, so we condemned them there.
Oh, I know how to respond to this. I raised like a figure. Oh damn.
All right. Well,
what now?
we can head off, but let's rest up first and make sure we're in tip-top shape.
Yep. I will say you guys are able to rest, get the benefits of a long rest, as Agrid and Journaland basically watch over you. And that is, although we're only on an hour and a half, that is where we're going to end today's session.